Socrates, at least I think it was Socrates, it might have been Plato, said that a sound body and a sound mind are a fitting foundation for all that is noble. So what you see in Britain at the end of the 18th century is a rise in neoclassicism, which was an artistic and philosophical movements that corresponded with the Enlightenment, that called for a rebirth, sort of a second renaissance more or less, and like looking at the classics as the ultimate peak form of human civilization. So looking at ancient Greece as the pinnacle of what human beings could accomplish. That was the end of the 18th century, and in the beginning of the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire realized they were broke and very backwards. And they realized that they could make a lot of money by allowing British aristocrats to come to Greece, and these are the archaeological sites, ancient sites, and conduct very large archaeological projects. And it was a great source of income, where they would employ hundreds of people and spend loads of money, and the Ottoman Empire realized that they could fundraise tons of capital this way. Where I am now is a site called Knossos in Crete, in the south of Greece. And in 1900, a man called Sir Arthur Evans, a British aristocrat, he came here and excavated all of this. And this is from the Minoan civilization, very, very old. And so you have British aristocrats coming around the Greek world and, you know, feeding their desire to study ancient Greece and understand its secrets. Because what they saw was that England was stagnating. England had been a very great power and then waned, and then it was coming back again, so on and so forth, and they wanted to discover the secret to ancient Greece's success, to their success in mathematics, you know, philosophy, war, all of these things. And what they found was two opposing and competing principles called Gymnasium and Symposium. So Gymnasium refers to public sport and just general fitness, you see. And this is good because it contributes to public spiritedness, public mindedness, and also a general spirit of athleticism, and creates a public with a strong body. Right. On the other hand, competing with this idea, you have Symposium, the idea of like public drinking ceremonies involving drunken conversation, you know, things that brought life to civilization, you know, like bringing beauty and meaning into your life and these things. And they believed that by doing these two things, at once doing public sport in the form of the Gymnasium, and by having public drinking and conversation and socializing, you were at once maximizing the faculties of your body and of your mind. Think of the Socrates quotes: a sound body and a sound mind are a fitting foundation for all that is high and noble. They believe that these two things were what made Greece great from their studies. So when these aristocrats would come back to Britain in around like the middle and early parts of the 19th century, in the mid 1800s or so, right as the Industrial Revolution is taking off, you see an explosion of public houses and football clubs in the late 19th century. Now there have always been taverns in Britain. Since about 50 AD, the Romans brought taverns, and yet you could still argue that this is influenced by the Greeks, but that's not the case I'm going to make. But a tavern is different from a pub. A tavern, you always have rooms, board, and it's intended for postmen basically going. That's the original purpose. The Romans created taverns to serve as like a place for postmen to stay as they're traveling. But a pub, a public house, is very different in its origin. It's a public drinking space in which people can have this symposium, this collective drinking sphere that is open to all. And also now, yes, it is true that football, or sport similar to it, a sport similar to it, was played in Britain for thousands of years, and in Ireland for many thousands of years. But the idea of a football club, where you have people from some like area all participating in some public sport altogether, this was only created in the 19th century in England. This was created by wealthy aristocrats who were neoclassicists who wanted to make England more like ancient Greece. You can look directly at who started these clubs, you know, what they did in their lives, what they studied, the circles they were in, the part of the movement of culture that they were a part of, and what you see is the very conscious desire to bring about these two elements, Gymnasium and Symposium, directly inspired by the archaeological excavations and study on ancient Greece that had happened just a few years prior, right? So, you know, I just think it's very interesting that, you know, people who you would not think of as being very like into history and archaeology and bullshit stuff like philosophy and all this nonsense, this jibber jabber who just want to have a pint and watch the football, you know? But where does that actually come from? This shit was invented by autistic British aristocrats who were out here fucking wearing some dorky ass shit, fucking digging in all this stuff because they read fucking books. Books, that's where it came from. You wanna know where fucking British drinking culture and fucking football culture came from? You see people, right? Like they support a football club because their father supported it. They think it's something from time immemorial. No. Nerds with books is where the fuck it came from, like 100 years ago. So yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe.